Good morning, children. Today I'm going to explain you Poetry Third, A Tiger in the Zoo, written by Leslie Norris from your reader book First Flight. In this video, I'm going to explain the introduction, theme, message, summary, and the literary devices that has been used in this poem. Now I'm going to tell you about the author George Leslie Norris. He was born on 21st May 1921 and died on 6th April 2006. He was a prize winning poet and short story writer. He taught at academic institutions in Britain and the United States, including Brigham Young University. Norris is considered one of the most important Welsh writers of the post war period, and his literary publications have won many prizes. The introduction of the poem A Tiger in the Zoo. The poem brings out a contrast between Tiger's life in the narrow confines of a zoo and his life in his natural habitat of a forest, where he doesn't only wander about without any restrictions but also strikes terror among the people in the villages located at the edge of the jungle. The poem arouses the reader's sympathy for the enslaved, encaged, and constrained tiger deprived of his freedom as well as of his natural self. Here is the theme of the poem. The poem A Tiger in the Zoo is written by Leslie Norris. In this poem, the poet tries to depict the mental condition of a caged tiger. He compares the life of a tiger in the zoo with the life in its natural habitat. The poet conveys an important message that the wild animals should be left in their natural habitat. In the poem, he heightens the contrast between freedom and captivity. He very impressively shows us how love for freedom is the natural instinct of every living beings. Here is about the title of the poem A Tiger in the Zoo. The title A Tiger in the Zoo is apt as the poet throws light on the physical and mental condition of a tiger who has been captivated in a small cage in a zoo. The boy has compared the activities of a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. The descriptions begins from the zoo and moves to the jungle. After thorough study of its natural habitat, it moves back again to the zoo. The tiger's helplessness in the zoo had been described nicely and makes us question about the relevance of zoos in the world. Children, before I start the poem A Tiger in the Zoo, written by Leslie Norris, I want to ask you one question. Have you seen the tiger wander about without any restrictions that is in forest, or with restrictions in cage that is in zoo? If you have not seen the tiger in the zoo or in the forest, then the poet here is going to explain you about that how the tiger feels with restrictions and without restrictions. Here in the first stanza, the tiger that is in the zoo, in the cage, how it feels. The tiger angrily paces up and down in the narrow confines of his cage, noiselessly on his soft padded paws. comparison has been made here with velvet. Actually, the tiger is supposed to be seen in the dark jungles, pushing his way through the tall and thick vegetation, approaching the water body, where he could come across a plump deer or some other animal to prey upon. Here, the poet explained about the tiger roaming in the forest. And in his natural environment, he is expected to be roaring loudly, baring his teeth, causing terror with his sharp claws among the villagers living on the periphery of the forest. Now, again, back to the zoo. But unfortunately, he is locked in a concrete cell that stands in complete contrast to his natural habitat. It's just opposite the concrete cell and the forest. This powerful creature stands helplessly behind the bars. Look at the condition of the tiger. He was helpless behind the bars, suffering the misery of his slavery. He is indifferent to the visitors who come to see him. He used to ignore the visitors. When the dull and miserable day comes to an end, this is a night at that time what the tiger feels. He listlessly listens to the patrolling cars that make their final rounds before retiring to make sure that everything is in order. The tiger longingly looks at the brilliant stars with his eyes, which shine in the darkness of the night, and express his strong yearning for the unlimited freedom of his natural habitat. According to the poet, the tigers should not be caged. They should roam freely in the forest in their natural habitat. Now I'm going to explain about literary devices that has been used in this poem. Firstly, we start with alliteration. Alliteration means two different words having same letter. First letter should be same. That is alliteration. Look at the first line in first stanza. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Here in stalks and stripes, S sound has been repeated. Now look at fourth stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell. Concrete cell, there are two different words are there, but first letter is same. C sound has been repeated. Now look at the next line. His strength behind bars. Here you can also see that two different words are there, but first letter is same, that is B. So here B sound has been repeated. So all these lines have an element of lyricism because of alliteration. Now we move to repetition. Repetition means repeat single words or phrases and lines, and sometimes even whole stanza also. It creates a musical effect, and poet has used repetition in this poem. Look at the words velvet, quite rage. Here you can see in stanza 1 the poet has repeated the word quite. Okay, and to emphasize the silence in the zoo against the noise in the forest. In the expression velvet quite refers to the movement of padded paws of the tiger, which are soft like velvet and make no sound while he paces in the cage. And in quiet rage, the anger is shown to be quiet because the imprisoned tiger in the zoo has been forced to give up his natural behavior and does not roar in cage but keeps silent, which is against his temperament. Now look at the last stanza here, brilliant eyes and brilliant stars. Here you can see the brilliant word has been repeated. There is a brilliance of the stars shining at night, and the tiger has his eyes shining in the darkness of the night, expressing his longing for the freedom that the stars enjoy in the vast, unlimited expanse of the sky. Next poetic device that has been used in this poem is oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech where two contradictory words or ideas are put together. This figure of speech is used to draw attention to apparent contradiction. Here you can see quiet, rage. Here quiet and rage are contradictory, as one is loud in rage, not quiet, but the tiger is silent as he suppresses the expression of rage. Next poetic device that is used in this poem is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech that is used to make a comparison between two things without using like or as. You can have a look at this line, on pads of velvet white. Here the poet compares the pads of tiger's feet with velvet, since both are soft and smooth to touch. Now we move to the rhyme scheme. All 5 stanzas consisting of 4 lines each constantly follow the same rhyme scheme. Okay, we can have a look here. Like here, shadow will give A, then grass. Here the shadow and grass, they are having the different sounds, so we'll give B. Then whole, again these 3 words are having different sounds, so we'll give the letter C. And then pass, grass and pass, they having the same sound, so here we'll give B. So rhyme scheme of this complete poem is A, B, C, B. I think the explanation of this poem is clear to you. Here my video ends, and in the next video I'm going to explain the stanzas of the poetry and the message given by the poet. Till then, bye, have a nice day.